Welcome to the Rising Woman Leaders podcast. We are a sisterhood of women stepping into courage, self-love, and feminine leadership. I'm your host, Meredith Ram, and here I'll be sharing personal insights as well as interviews with inspiring leaders and entrepreneurs so you can create more daily magic in your life and also grow your business without losing sight of spiritual values as a rising woman leader. If you like this podcast, use our hashtag Rising Woman Leaders, follow me on Instagram at Meredith Ram, and sign up for email updates at risingwomanleaders.com. You'll receive all the new and inspiring content, including insights I only share on email. Now get cozy with a cup of tea, light a candle, and grab a journal to listen to this week's magical radio podcast. I'm here today with Vyana Ma. Vyana is a woman who lives on the earth and breathes the air. She is also an international energy medicine teacher and speaker based out of the Bay Area, California. She blends her journey through childhood sexual and physical abuse, addiction, and self-abuse with trainings in Eastern and Western healing modalities. Using these tools, Vyana guides her clients and students through the shadowed and disempowered aspects of themselves to reach a place of trust and truth. Thank you for being here today, Vyana.
Thank you, Meredith. It's such a joy and an honor to be here.
Yeah, and I know you have been just traveling all over the place and road tripping and in Mexico and different parts of the country, and you're literally like, you're still on the road. You're just kind of getting back to the States. And I would love to hear what it's been like and where you're just coming from and just some of that journey you've been on.
Beautiful. So right now we're just getting back from Mexico. We were there for about 3 weeks. We actually just touched down in the U.S. yesterday, two days ago. My days are already getting confused as we come back and reintegrate. And it's been a really potent journey. The first half of the trip was a time where I was speaking at some events and hosting some gatherings. And the second half was more for me to rest and receive and to sink back into my personal prayer outside of the role of teacher, facilitator, to be a student again and work with some of my teachers. And so coming out of that space, it's that second half that I'm really coming out of right now that has made such a significant impact, as it always does when we take extended periods for our personal prayer. And that's the first half of the bio that I sent to you. Nothing really felt relevant. It was like, okay, there's all these words and these roles and these tools, and that's all true, but really nothing right now feels as resonant as just the bare, stripped down minimum of what is happening right now. I am a woman. I am here on this earth. I am breathing and learning in that space. And this trip to Mexico was really powerful for returning to the simplicity of being who I am and being in my personal prayer outside of the roles that I've decided to play. And that's kind of where I am right now is integrating that simplicity again.
Yeah, stripping away the identity of all these roles we take on. I can definitely relate to that. And I think back to when just coming out of college, I took quite a bit of time of just like exploring and discovering and traveling. And sometimes I think back on that and I'm like, I miss that. And every once in a while I do take like a month off or something and travel and really deepen. I'm curious what told you to go on this journey, and how have you managed and found really that balance of like being a teacher, but also like deepening in your practices?
Beautiful, beautiful question. I decided to go on this trip because I was really tired and I was missing my space. And I feel I really have to talk a bit about the spirit school to kind of encapsulate what has been going on for me. So a year ago, we just celebrated the year anniversary of the spirit school in October. So a year ago, I had opened the spirit school, and this was something that I was really guided to. It kind of happened a few months prior. I was graduating massage school the spring of 2014, and I was talking to my classmates quite casually about doing a Reiki training, because that was kind of where the spirit school started, was with Reiki. And a lot of my classmates were, I'd be interested in that, you know. And then on the day of my graduation, one of my classmates handed me a check, and I had all this vision for what I wanted, but now it was, you know, it was kind of spirit saying, okay, take this check. And I had no curriculum, and I had nothing built, and I just accepted and was like, okay, we're doing this. So I took a couple months to build out the curriculum and then opened the school in October, and had a lot of students back in Buffalo, New York, which is where I'm from, who, you know, a lot of different people there who were interested in studying with me. So I thought, okay, I'll have some students in person, and then I'll have some students online so I can get those people back home. And then very quickly, within a matter of about 3 months, the spirit school had students in 5 countries and was completely booked out for the entire coming year. And I had really no time to prepare for that. You know, it was a big initiation. It just happened really quickly. And so it has been pulling me to be a louder voice and do do things in a way that I would have taken more time with. It really forced me to do things a lot faster, and with that speed and with the intensity of having to, you know, figure it all out as I was going, I just started to get really exhausted pretty quickly. So the decision to take space was just really necessary to return to myself, because this past year has been so much giving and such an outpouring of energy, creating all this content, and you know, we go really deep, and I'm so blessed and so incredibly grateful for the work I get to do with my students. Just really radical transformations, getting out of abusive relationships, getting off of medications, women feeling empowered in who they are, feeling strong in their ability to use their voice and set boundaries. It's really an absolute honor. But I was just so tired. And so I really needed to take some space. That was the catalyst for this trip, and just missing being the student myself, really, that desire in me.
Mm-hmm. What this really shows me is that you are a very powerful manifester. And it's like you put out this intention and it came full force. Like, you want to be a teacher? Here we go.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. It's that refinement of prayer. Pray for it all comes to pass.
It's so beautiful. I imagine that. Yeah, it's sometimes the universe gives us these opportunities, and we have to step up to the plate and really embody our higher selves and get to see ourselves like, whoa, I didn't even know I was capable of that.
Yeah.
How cool.
Yeah. Yeah. It's definitely been a process of that, of pulling up and allowing myself to be the clearest channel I can be to witness and set boundaries and be an example in so many ways of stepping up and speaking truth. It's been a really beautiful year of initiation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for me too. I'm just coming out of this big Kickstarter campaign and finishing a book, and yeah, and I really like this. It's only been a week and a half since all of it, and
Wow.
I've just been kind of integrating and feeling like, wow, I just did a lot. Time to slow down a bit. I really feel the winter coming, and Karen and I, my friend, we decided to sign up for a 10-day Vipassana retreat over Christmas. And like, I'm just so looking forward to that sweet time of nourishment and going back to my practices really deeply and creating that space. Are there any highlights you'd like to share about your time of just going back to being a student? What were the things that you were learning, and who were you studying with, and what was a highlight for you?
So I was studying bhakti yoga, devotional yoga, and I was working with a teacher. Her name is Mercy Ananda. She's such an absolute divine being. Maybe do you know Mercy?
I know Mercy, yeah.
So you know what an absolute blessing she is. She's just really magical. Yeah, we were going into some different aspects of bhakti yoga, doing some more work with the harmonium and different Eastern Indian instruments, a little sitar, and talking about ragas and the sargam scale, the aspects of traditional music in India, and going deeper into mantra and mudras and deeper study of different deities and saints. And it was a really beautiful period of study that was paired with a deep exploration of yin yoga and restorative yoga. So very gentle, very feminine space, and a beautiful, beautiful group of people. And the biggest ripple of this moment of being in this role of student for me was recognizing how much of my own self-practice I've sacrificed in the last year, because I've been holding this really deep role, and quite surprisingly to my consciousness, I would say, probably not so surprisingly to my subconscious self or my energy body. On one of the first days there, the message came from my heart to not move forward with the spirit school in the way that I have been, and it was really earth shaking. My mind was just like, "Whoa, what? We just built this, and you wanna just leave it?" And so there's been this calling from my heart to open up more space in my work, because it's just brought me into a deeper space of doing a lot more admin work, and a lot more computer work than what I would prefer in my ideal flow of life. And I was recognizing how the boundaries of doing this work have really been obliterated, because the school is online and with Instagram and email, and I've always had the boundary of my students not texting me, but even with that boundary, my work is always in my pocket, and I just recognize the need for that to not be the case anymore, and especially after coming off of these trips where I was speaking and working with people in physical space again, and really missed that opportunity to be with people in physical space. So, the biggest takeaway was the return to myself, I would say, and the balancing of giving and even, it's been a huge process of setting deeper and deeper boundaries with the school and the work, but just recognizing, even though it's the essence of what I'm surely here to do, it's not actually the exact way that I'm meant to be doing it, because it's not serving myself or the world for me to be this tired. And so there just need to be some dramatic changes. So since being down in Mexico, my daily sadhana has returned in its full force and is expanding. I've been doing 2-hour morning sadhanas every day and taking some days in silence and feeling a spaciousness that I haven't felt in the last year. And so I know this is the right decision. And it's just very, it's an interesting lesson in opening to the reality of what is being felt in the moment and not feeling attached to an idea, allowing my business and myself to breathe and be alive and changing and evolving every day, even if there's this idea that, oh, well, you've done this and now you have to keep doing this. Mm-hmm. Just allowing it to be authentic and say, well, this doesn't feel good anymore, so I don't need to keep doing it.
Yeah, I'm so glad you're giving yourself that space. And I think that's also a message a lot of women need to hear, because we can pretty easily slip into pushing and saying, this is what I have to do, this is what I should be doing, this is what other people are doing, and I've created this whole thing, now I need to keep doing it. And that's actually not the case, especially if we're like really connected to our intuition and our body wisdom. Have you thought about what the spirit school might look like in a way that's really sustainable, and what it could look like for you in the future?
Yeah, well, so I have I was, after this period, I took a day of silence while I was in Mexico, just sat with the ripples of it. And what was coming through in that moment was trust, the essence of trust. And what does that mean for me? And how do I want that to be a part of my life in every moment? And what came through in that exploration was that I want to open to the possibility of trusting my community to be present with the support that is deserved in the exchange, of energy. So what my plan is in this moment, and it might expand or contract, of course, as it unfolds. The vision in this moment is to create some videos while we're at Standing Rock, and nothing, super intensely produced, just really basic quality audio, and maybe even video from my laptop or from my husband's camera that he used to use for film work, but nothing super fancy, just really basic, me kind of talking to the camera and delivering content. And then taking the manuals and worksheets and all of that content, creating it into downloadable PDFs and putting it up on my website for free. And people can then experience the content and the different lessons, and it'll be laid out. So it would be in this format of, here's what you do in week 1 and week 2 and week 3. And it's not going to be the exact content that I've been teaching in the Spirit School. It will be different based on what I'm feeling, kind of making these smaller courses regarding different aspects of the self. And then I'll accept donations from people and, give a suggestion. This class, is a suggested donation of X amount, and allow people to decide what value they're receiving from the offering and how they want to support my continued journey with offering this content. And I feel a lot of trust in that guidance, and have been shown throughout these past few weeks just how deeply supported we are and how powerful our prayer is, and what it means to actually create the space for prayer and let that be the foundation of life, that truth be the foundation of life, rather than money or this idea of success that is really just a house of native cards. There's no stability there. So building up from prayer now, and trusting that we're really just held so infinitely, and there's nothing to worry about. Very interesting, as my husband and I are both entrepreneurs, and neither of us have had jobs at any kind of company or anything in years. So my income has made up a large portion of our income. So it's a leap of trust into life, just opening that up and saying, I'm not going to continue overextending just for this money that isn't actually feeding me spiritually or, energetically.
Wow. It's like it's a living embodiment of just releasing control and setting your foundation on prayer and trust and the things that are most important to you. It's very brave.
Thank you.
Yeah. I'm curious about what it's been like traveling with your husband and your partner. Has he been with you on this whole trip? And
yeah,
yeah,
it's been really beautiful. He is such a wise soul, and he's been really waking up to it more and more, really finding his unique journey with spirituality, truth, and it's been such a joy to witness and to release the idea of what that journey is supposed to look like for him. And that's been many years of trying, saying, hey, look at this cool thing, this tool, here's this thing, and then reaching the point and realizing his journey is completely unique, and just allowing that to unfold. So this trip has been just absolutely beautiful to witness that coming out of him. He's in the first half, when I was speaking and hosting gatherings, he was also there and doing his own version, and he was in some men's circles and really getting to witness his power coming through and his wisdom. And then when I was we had a week of vacation together, it was kind of like a honeymoon. We've been married for 3.5 years, and we never went on a honeymoon because we were traveling when we got married. We were already moving around a lot. So we finally went on a little honeymoon, and we just relaxed together. And it was so beautiful to have the freedom in our days to just be with each other and to play and laugh and eat delicious food together. And then at the ashram, he was there and he was drawing. He's an illustrator, so he's just tucked away in nature and drawing and having his experience. And it's been so beautiful and so grounding to have him present, especially in these last few weeks, as things were getting really turned inside out, and the truth being revealed deeper and deeper. It was so comforting to have him there to discuss all of it in real time.
Wow. Well, you guys are growing together, evolving really quickly, and when we create that space, it's amazing what comes out, what can happen.
Yeah. I'm
curious about your sadhana practice. You mentioned it's like 2 hours long now. What does it look like?
Yeah, so it's before we left, I was guided to begin a 3-year sadhana with the Gayatri mantra. And so I began that, and chanting that one round on a mala, that's 108 times. It takes about an hour to do that. And so that's always incorporated. And then I work with various different mantras depending on the day and the energy that I'm feeling. There's a sequence of mudras that comes through Baba Hari Das that is to prepare and seal the Gayatri mantra. So I do that, and that's maybe 10 to 20 minutes, depending on how long I hold each one. There's quite a few. It's a beautiful, it's like a vinyasa for your hands, moving with your breath. It's so graceful and really beautiful sequence of mudras. And then I also take about a half hour, sometimes more, of just silence and some movement. And my ideal sadhana would actually be more like an 8-hour sadhana. So this is a very shortened version. I would love to include an arati, which is a light ceremony, and I don't have a very full altar. I have just a few things with me as we travel. I try to keep it pretty light, and my instruments take up most space that I would have altar items. But I'm in a more grounded space. I would love to be with my altar and to cleanse it and do different rituals with the altar, and a longer, more extended movement practice right after my my mantra and silence. I like when they're really close together, but movement has kind of been chunked up throughout the day at various points. So that's as it stands right now, the Gayatri mantra, the mudras, silence, and some other mantras depending on the day. That's what it is now. And then I pray also throughout the day, just kind of pretty nonstop lately. I've been really replacing my thoughts with mantra, and I have a little japa bag which rests over my shoulder, and it has my mala in it. It's a small bag, and you just put your hand in it, and I kind of am always walking around, working around the mala with different mantras. So it's just a full day of sadhana.
Wow. Do you ever feel resistance to your sadhana practice?
Oh, yeah.
If so, how do you work through that? And
yeah, beautiful question. Yeah, of course. That's the blessing of the sadhana, is that it's a practice, and it's not always this beautiful, blissful, zenned out practice. And that's really the days that have the most beautiful lessons, to sit in that discomfort and be present with it. And today was actually one of those days that I woke up and I was feeling very tired, and I typically wake up around 5:30, 6, depending on the day, to start my sadhana, and I was just tired. I didn't want to get up, and I kind of begrudgingly made my way to my harmonium and sat down and started chanting, and I didn't want to make noise. So then I just sat in silence first, and I just had to listen to what my body was wanting of me in the moment. And so I was outside. I was very cold, and I didn't have, I didn't even have socks on, and it was really cold at 5:30. So I came back inside, and I wrapped up in a blanket, and I sat on the couch, in cross-legged on the couch, and was more comfortable. And so just being honest in the moment with the way my body wants to pray helps me work through the days of resistance. It doesn't always have to be exactly what I have in my mind of sitting at my harmonium and chanting for an hour, and that's the way that I have to work with the Gayatri mantra. I let it breathe with my emotions in the moment, and that really gives me the space to work through the resistance and to sit with it. And of course, witnessing and acknowledging the resistance is so important. And I had a moment this morning where I just paused my movement on the mala, and I just sat back and I just took a big sigh and just thought, I just want to go back to bed. And I let that thought move, and okay, yeah, I see that. Great. I want to go back to bed. Well, you've committed to this practice, so do it. You're here. You've already woken up. You're already sitting here. Just complete it. This is the joy of it. And by the end of it, I was, of course, so grateful to have completed it.
Yeah, it sounds like you had a little inner cheerleader. Just like, yeah, Vyana, you can do it.
Totally. Yeah.
So sweet. Yeah, creating that spaciousness for yourself and acknowledging the parts that maybe don't want to do something and be like, it's okay. We love you too.
Mm-hmm.
So I can imagine that you haven't been doing like mantras and mudras and this your whole life. And I'm really curious more about your story and how you even came to find yoga and spirit and medicine and all the work that you do. What was your life like before that, and how did you come to make a shift?
It's beautiful. It was a long journey. It really feels like a lifelong journey in retrospect, and with the understanding I have now. Looking back to my childhood, I was just living in so much abuse, and from a very young age, from the age of 2 is when the sexual abuse started, and that lasted for many years, and then also physical abuse and in my house, and I was just kind of surrounded all the time by this really distorted view of love and care, and I look back at those moments when I was really young, and I, rather than having dolls, which I did also have dolls, but I always had rocks, and not crystals, just rocks. And wherever we were, I would pick up rocks and I would go and I would talk to the rocks. And they all had different stories, and they had different personalities, and they would interact with each other in different ways. I played with them like they were dolls. And I would bring them out every day, and I would wash them, I would bathe them. And when I was young, I was maybe 5 or 6. I had no idea what I was doing. It was just what I felt I wanted to do and what was fun to me. And of course, now with some understanding of even a bathing ritual on an altar, washing your murtis, there's tiny statues, and cleansing the representations of different deities on your altar. I see that kind of practice when I was younger, and the rocks as these really powerful guardians and protectors and record keepers. It's like they were helping me through this really dark period of my life, and I'm really grateful for their spirit for being present at such a young age. And as I grew older, I was always fascinated with magic, and I had some minor experiences with tarot, and not even knowing the names of it, just seeing the cards. And my mom was really into angels when I was growing up. I was raised Catholic, and my mom was really into angels, and she kind of deviated from the intensity of Catholicism that she was raised in, and coming from a Sicilian family that was really so present in our family at large, that looked at all of this stuff as evil. And I think still to this day, a lot of my family thinks that about the work that I do. But my mom had this little slip of it that would kind of come through. She was really into psychics and angel cards and things like this. So there was this little whisper of it around. And then when I was 12, I fractured my back, and my specialist recommended that I start going to yoga. And so that opened the door for me. And then when I was in high school, my freshman year of high school, I took a world religion class and just became obsessed with Hinduism and Buddhism. And I read the Gita for the first time when I was like 13. And, I think I understood like 5 words out of the thing. But I read it and I felt so connected to it. And something in me is just really ancient and deep understood that there was something here for me. And I went to yoga. I would wake up at 5:30 when I was in high school, and I would go jog over to the gym, and I would take a yoga class with all the old retired women in the morning. And then I would go to high school, and I would go to yoga after school. And this is, in this kind of overlapped with having a drug addiction. And so I kind of walked this line for many years of really darkness, and then this light coming in and anchoring me. And I truly believe that it saved my life from going down a really dark path. And it just has been evolving since then, since my preteen years. I went to my first kirtan when I was 17, and just broke me wide open. And then I, even more was fascinated with mantra and meditation and studying as much as I could. Yes, it was a long journey to be here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it was your own path of healing that sounds like naturally turned into showing others how to do the same.
Yeah.
And I know you use the word mudita a lot, mudita tribe, and I wonder if you could tell us what that means.
Yeah, mudita is actually interesting. I just learned a second meaning for it. Mudita is a Buddhist principle that means joy at another's success in life. And that the first time I heard that word, I remember just feeling so sparked by it, and something really lit up within me. And I just held on to it for many years and would often think about that word. And so as I was opening my business, it was right there. I loved the way it felt in my body, and I loved the way it sounded, and I loved what it represented, because that's really, my personal definition of success is just leaving a trail of radiance behind me. And if I can do that, if I can leave every place I'm in cleaner, more loving, more grounded, that is success to me, regardless of the money or whatever may come with it. That's just the essence of it for me. So that word just felt really perfect. And I just recently learned that it also means no voice, which I think is really powerful, because a mudita medicine, it's like the medicine of having no voice. And that mudita medicine is the rebranding that I have been in the process of transitioning to. It was mudita wellness, which also worked really well. The wellness of your voice, finding your voice, the reclamation of having no voice. And especially for women, it's such a huge wound for us, but also for our brothers. It's there's such a huge aspect of their voices that has been lost and dampened and forgotten. So it feels in resonance there as well.
Yeah, I love chatting about that and women's voices. I'm curious what your experience has been with your voice, especially becoming a teacher and a speaker and a singer. How has that journey been for you?
Oh, it's been radical. Really radical. I've always loved public speaking since I was really young. In middle school, I used to do monologue competitions and things like that. I loved speaking in front of people, and I've always felt very comfortable with it. But this new development of using my voice in the way that I have been over the past year, I would even go before that when I was starting my private practice 2 years ago, really focusing on that. The way that this work has pulled me into using my voice is much more vulnerable and much more grounded and embodied than I have ever used it before. And that process has, for me, it's really coincided with the use of plant allies and psychoactive plant allies, and also non-psychoactive plant allies, working with herbal medicine in all its different ways. And the support of the plants is just so divine and nourishing, and my body has felt so nourished and held through the use of these plants, and from that space of nourishment, my voice has really had the freedom to explore. And in psychoactive plant ceremony, I came to sing in ceremony and felt my voice in a way that I've never felt it before. And it actually felt like another person was singing. And I just thought, this is amazing. I didn't know I could sound this way. And so that really opened up this desire to understand what was possible in my voice. And that led me to studying frequency and resonance and vibration, and that naturally opens up a deeper exploration of sacred geometry and looking at the voice as this tool of divinity beyond the physical form and beyond whatever fears or experiences we hold. It's this direct tool that we have to connect with the purest source of this world, the purest energy. And looking at it from that standpoint has really allowed me to find such incredible gratitude and reverence for the voice that I have and the ability to use it in a way that heals not only my body, but this world.
Well, I have a few more questions for you. One is, I know you're going up to Standing Rock, so I wonder if you could tell us a little bit about why you're going, what you plan to be doing there, and just speak of that journey.
Mm-hmm. Well, the why for me is I can't imagine not going. Honestly, it's our opportunity to stand as allies and to use the privilege that we have been born with to stand with and for the suffering and pain of our family, our human family, and our Indigenous brothers and sisters and elders. They've suffered through so much, and they need us all to stand with them. And it's not just, it's just this, what's happening at Standing Rock is so important on so many levels, for our earth, for our children, for the communities that have been overlooked and abused for centuries. And we have the opportunity now to heal. It just, for me, there's no question of going. It was a matter of when I could go. And that was something that I had been speaking with Darren about for many months, since earlier this year. We've been talking with it and actively donating and trying to participate in any ways that I can. And it just came to a point right before we left this trip where I turned to him and I just said, when we return, I'm going, and I hope you come, but I can't wait for you to say yes, to go. And of course he wants to go, but he was feeling a lot of fear around it. We're trying to get pregnant right now, and at this point, before we left a few months ago, we knew we'd be getting back during the winter, and we'd be going there for the winter. And so he was just feeling a lot of fear around how is it going to work. And we have a car that doesn't have 4-wheel drive, and it's very small. And so that was a concern too, is that can our car even make it there up, snowy mountain roads? We've been living in California for so long, we haven't needed to worry about that. So I just kept saying to him, this is really important, and this is where my heart is, and I understand your fears, and you're entitled to feel them, and I am not going to let that stop me from going there. So, I think in a lot of ways I don't want to say I forced him to go, but I forced him to really look at the fears that he was feeling.
Mm-hmm.
And it was really beautiful to see some voices that were coming out of Standing Rock, some women who were saying the children will rise and the women will rise and then our men will follow, and just really feeling that energy really present in our house. And as we prepare to bring a child into this world, I can't consciously welcome a soul to a planet that I'm not willing to fight for. And it's not just fighting for us, but it's for them and for their children and for their experience of this planet, and trying to restore so much wisdom that has been lost and to heal so much pain, so that they can lead in their time and be in a place of the heart without so much struggle. That was that's what really led us to make the decision to go. And the how has been unfolding over these past couple of weeks. When we were in Mexico, before we arrived at the ashram, I put out a call on Facebook for anyone who might have a trailer that we could take. As the reality of pregnancy started coming closer and closer, and winter started coming closer and closer, we were trying to just be as creative as we could with how we could get the most amount of supplies up there, and how we could really be protected and allow my body to be protected as we stand in prayer. And while we were at, there was some response to that post, but nothing felt really aligned. My body just said, yeah, don't worry about that. You've put the intention out there. We hear you, and don't worry, we got you from here. So I didn't really push it from there. And when we arrived at the ashram, I was speaking to some people who were there and was talking about what we were looking for, what our intentions were in going. And one of the guys there just said, "You could take my trailer. I don't know if it's big enough for you, but you're welcome to it." And so that's actually what we're going to be doing. And his name is Spirit, which just couldn't be more perfect.
Oh my goodness.
This is really divine. And
Spirit brought you a trailer.
Yeah. It's incredible. And he's giving it to us to use indefinitely there, to be there as long as we are called to be there. And he has been a wildfire fighter. Wildfire fighter. It feels like it might be missing a space somewhere in there, but in Alaska for many years. And so his truck, he's been living out of it for like 6 years. It's winterized. All these adjustments have been made to make it really comfortable and for the winter climate. And he canceled aspects of his own trip, and he had people who were flying into Mexico to come surf with him, and he canceled their trips and just like rearranged his life so that we could have the truck and take it up with us. And it has it's a pickup truck with one of the campers that comes over the cab. So there's a little kitchen in it and a dining table and a lofted bed. So I think we'll be able to fit a good amount of supplies, and just so in awe and humbled by the alignment of truth and meeting other souls who are in that alignment of trust and truth, and seeing the power that unfolds from that place. And I'm just so incredibly grateful to Spirit, and to Spirit as the embodied man, and to Spirit as the infinite one. Just so humbled and grateful.
Wow. That reminds me of just this concept that if we can just focus on what it is we want to happen or what we want to create, like don't worry about how. The universe will come in and help with that.
Yeah, absolutely.
How has it been preparing your body and mind and spirit for welcoming a baby?
Oh, it's been really interesting. It's been really beautiful. But when I started preparing, I kind of was on a preconception protocol for a while before we left for this trip. Again, working with different tinctures and herbs. And I was really unpacking a lot from the trauma of my childhood. And the sexual abuse in my life came from my father. And so there was this mourning that was happening of the prospect of not being able to get pregnant because I was so young. I was 2 when the abuse started. And, when you're that young and it lasted for many years. So, my physical body has grown around that trauma. Mm-hmm. And so I was holding a lot of fears around, can I get pregnant? Is that a possibility for me? And then feeling just the most devastating heartbreak at the potential of not being able to be pregnant because my father raped me. This like lineage pain was just really profound. To give voice to this aspect of emotion that was within me. And as I gave it a voice, physically gave it a voice, as I spoke about it more and more to friends and, of course, to Darren, really giving the vibration a space to move in my body, I felt a big shift and welcomed in just so much joy and power and the recognition that this child will come because my body is a tool of divine life, and I understand how to work with those currents and how to start in the energetic and let it ripple out to the physical, and finding freedom in not being trapped by what has happened to my body, in the process of breathing with the truth and feeling it, and welcoming a whole new lineage through this child, through myself. I know that these cycles of trauma that have existed in really deeply in my father's lineage, incest is something that has come through his lineage, that he experienced, that his brother experienced, that my brother experienced, that, it's a thread. I don't know where it began because I don't actually know a great depth of my father's family. I don't know much about them, but it's clear that it has been passed down through that lineage. And that, of course, is stopping with me. There's no doubt that has stopped, and it is changing. And then the abuse from my mother's side as well, which there's addiction and physical abuse coming through my mother's side. And that also has stopped with me. And now the cleanup is happening where I've been really actively turning towards my mother and working with her and to profoundly heal and to truly heal, not just to sweep it up and make it look clean, and actually there's all this stuff boiling underneath the surface, but to really clean up, to prepare for this child. It's been a really radical process, just so humbling and so exciting, and connecting with this spirit who is ready to move through my body. He's presented as a masculine being so far, however he chooses to incarnate, leave that up to him. But I see him as a masculine being now, and he is just so powerful, and I'm humbled and honored that I will get to be this soul's mother whenever he's ready. We have opened the portal. We have officially begun allowing the natural unfolding, and we just continue to speak with him and say, we trust your vision. of what you see and what you know from where you are now. And so when you are ready to come and join us, we welcome you. And whenever that is, we are waiting and ready.
Wow. Wow. Thank you for sharing all of that. I wonder if you could speak a few words on forgiveness. I know that you have gone through abuse and trauma, and I wonder what role that has played in your life, what you have to share about it.
Thank you for bringing that up. It's such an important aspect of healing. For me, forgiveness has been a roller coaster. Thinking at different points in my journey that I understand what forgiveness is, and then experiencing the exact opposite of it, and really just moving through all these layers of forgiveness. For me, in this moment, forgiveness is for myself. And when I can work to offer forgiveness, it really has nothing to do with the other person. Now, my father will never know what I feel for him. I haven't talked to him in many, many years. I don't even think he has any idea of how to, what my name is, or what, just going through many transformations. Vyana was not my birth name. That was a name that was given to me. And so I don't honestly know that he can find me. I don't think he'll ever know that I'm working to forgive him. So it just has nothing to do with him. And it has everything to do with how I show up for myself and how I show up in my own life, and carrying this anger and this confusion and this resentment and sadness and all the things that unfold from this place of abuse. It's a lot of weight to carry. It's a lot of weight to carry. And I don't know that it's ever something I'll set down completely, which is okay. It lives and breathes in me. It's part of who I am. But the forgiveness is to let go of the anger and to understand what is underneath the anger, to put that down and understand that that is just a surface of what is really going on beneath. And through that process, then I can understand, oh, I'm sad. I'm afraid. There's parts of myself that feel unloved. And seeing that and the confusion there really allows me to move with the abuse rather than fight against it and try to let it go. This language of letting go and in our culture is something that I find to be actually really detrimental to the process of healing, because we don't just let things go. And if we think about it from that perspective of just let it go, you can even visualize this. If you're holding something that's part of your body, or, I'd like to have this image of my body, and there's all these different puzzle pieces that I'm kind of holding together. And if I want to take this piece out and let it go, then there's going to be this gaping hole here. And that's going to have to be filled with something. And often it's not a constructive thing that we fill it with, even if we're consciously trying to let something go from us. So I like to think about it as letting it live and letting love. And how can I welcome this piece of me with compassion and love? And that's really what forgiveness has opened up to. And as with love as the essence of it, we allow ourselves to not be actively creating new karma. And so that's something, when we talk about forgiveness, that I think is a relevant point to discuss as well, as we think it's really easy in the anger or the intensity of whatever comes up that we are working to forgive to inadvertently curse people or to curse a situation. And we just, we let it out, and we don't think of it as cursing somebody or something. We let out all this fire, and that's just adding more fire to our karmic unfolding. and to the relationship with this other person. So if we think about this interaction with another person who has hurt us, and we do something to add more fire to that relationship, well, we're just going to be doing a dance with this soul again, whether it be in this lifetime or another lifetime. We're going to come back together and we're going to have to work things out again. Mm-hmm. And so I've been thinking a lot about that with my father in particular, of doing a lot of depth, trying to understand his soul and what it is that where he is wounded and where he is hurt, and what caused him to behave in such a manner, and understanding that he doesn't know what love is. He's never been shown what love is, and not just in this lifetime, but in many lifetimes that I have been shown. And so that's my opportunity in this whole experience with him, is to love him so completely that we can karmically let each other go, so that we can stop incarnating and dancing this awful dance of suffering together. And it's always through love that we find the way to actually break these bonds of suffering. And it's something I'm working on. It's not perfected. I couldn't look him in the eyes and say I love you. But that's not actually even necessary. It's this loving, recognizing the divinity in every being, and knowing that every one of us has the highest, clearest, cleanest version of ourselves, and loving that truth. I think that's where we can find forgiveness.
Mm-hmm. So beautiful. I loved all those metaphors, and I'm just picturing, the puzzle pieces, and just being loved and holding yourself and all those parts of yourself with the compassion and allowing the healing to take place. I think that will be really valuable for women to hear, because I know there are so many women out there who've had similar stories.
Wow, thank you.
Yeah. So I just have one more question for you around just what are you excited about in your business now, and how can people find you, and if people want to know more about your work, what can they what kind of offerings do you have now?
Beautiful. So as I said, things are going to be unfolding in this manner with free offerings, donation-based offerings. Once we get to Standing Rock, which will be there by the end of the month, we're slowly making our way up the West Coast right now. So in this moment, the best way is to follow me on Instagram at Vyana.ma. That's VYANA.MA. And I'll be keeping, as up to date as we can. I'm not sure what our internet access will be like. It might be very limited. And depending on what we have once we get to Standing Rock, I'd like to be doing more Facebook Live in the Mudita Tribe group on Facebook, which is just a community page for people to gather and to be open and authentic with how they're feeling and connect with like-minded souls, and really just a place for the community to gather. That has always been my intention with that space. Just a space of love and nurturing support. So that's a place where I'll be live and doing what I can while we're at Standing Rock, keeping things updated and sharing music and talking with people, seeing what questions they have. And my website is muditamedicine.com. And as it stands right now, if you were to go to it today, you would see a lot of things about what I have been doing, the spirit school and my private practice. And those things I'm not going to be doing in the same way. So I just touched down in the States and back to internet service. This is actually the first time I've opened my computer in the past, I don't even know, 3 or 4 weeks. So, it's gonna be a little bit of an unfolding. So, I look forward to connecting with people through Instagram and Facebook. It's a great way right now. And everyone can kind of watch as things unfold and develop. That's kind of where I am right now.
So beautiful. You're like you've been in this incubation phase, and we're going to see what emerges.
Yeah. Oh, I totally forgot about this too. I will be tracking my journey to motherhood in a video blog series with Tribe to Mama. And I'll be recording the first video today talking about the preconception period and what that has been like, a bit more about my story. And then we'll be tracking the journey however it unfolds, you're committing to that vulnerability. And if we have trouble conceiving or difficulty conceiving, if we have a miscarriage, if, whatever awakens in this process, that's what I've committed to, and Darren as well, to sharing truthfully about what we're feeling and experiencing in that process. So that's another way people can see what's going on as well.
Beautiful. I'll include the links on the post.
Beautiful.
So, yeah. Do you have any closing words for us before I end with a short prayer?
Oh, closing words. Humility and gratitude give us the freedom to experience the divinity that we are. And if we always return to these principles of being, humbling ourselves, and being grateful for what we have, we'll never be lost. No matter how confusing or painful it might feel, if we come back to the space of humility and gratitude, we'll always find our way.
Yes. So we can close our eyes, center back into our breath. Breathing in the sense of gratitude, humility, all that has been shared today in this conversation. Anything that resonated with you out there listening, just bring that into your heart. Just allow that to be just a sweet seed in your heart, creating space for it to grow with time. Calling in any of those gems. So may we continue to walk on this path together with courage, with love for ourselves and all the people around us, with gratitude even for our challenges, knowing that they have really brought us into being the people we are today. So I bring my hands to my heart center and bow with much gratitude for Vyana. Thank you for sharing your wisdom with us. And to everyone out there listening, thank you for being here. Namaste.
Namaste. Thank you so much, Meredith.